Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this episode of Just Another Year Chicago Bears. My name is Nick Rody, and as always, thank you for tuning in. Today is a very special edition of the show as we have on former Chicago Bears quarterback Erik Kramer to discuss his thoughts of Caleb Williams, his expectations of the rookie quarterback, and the 2024 Chicago Bears as a whole. So excited to break that down for you guys. And before I begin today's show, I am giving away an autographed Caleb Williams football. In order to enter, make sure you hit the like button on this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and comment your expectations of Caleb Williams in the comments section below. Winner will be announced during our live stream this Sunday after the game. And before we get more into the show, I would like to thank today's sponsor, SeatGeek. I am excited to see the Bears this upcoming season in person with how good they're going to be, and the sponsor of today's show makes it that much easier. Today's video is sponsored by SeatGeek. With over 28 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. There are more than 70,000 events on SeatGeek, including concerts, sporting events, festivals, and more. And with how good the Bears are going to be this upcoming season, SeatGeek has your tickets for every game. They put all the tickets on the web into one spot to make sure that you guys are getting a good deal. Using their rating scale of 1 through 10, look for the green dots in order to indicate how good a seat is. Green is good, red means not so much. And you know I came through for you guys. Make sure to use code JUSTANOTHERYEAR for $20 off tickets at SeatGeek. That's $20 off your first purchase with promo code JUSTANOTHERYEAR. Make sure to click the link in the description to download the app now. And now I'd like to welcome Erik Kramer. And now I have on former Chicago Bears quarterback Erik Kramer. Erik, welcome back to the show. Great to see you again.
Great to be back, as always, Nick. And I wish only I could be in Chicago, one of my favorite cities, if not my favorite city of all time. So anyway, yeah, glad the season's right around the corner. It's always a Bears weekend once the season begins. So let's have at it.
So week 1, Bears-Titans at Soldier Field. You've obviously done opening day at Soldier Field before. What is the feeling as the Chicago Bears quarterback around the city? No matter the expectations of this season, obviously this one's pretty high. But for you, what was it like when you were with the Bears week 1 entering Soldier Field?
Well, I think it's exciting because you've put in, all that time and effort in the offseason coming together, working on not only what you do, but trying to help bring everybody together to get to this day. And then that Sunday morning or that Saturday night arrives, and you're at the hotel as a team, and then you wake up in the morning and it's just it's an electric feeling knowing that, you're playing for the Bears. You're in probably the best football city in America, and knowing that this team and this city and this franchise is, got a lot invested is a great feeling.
And we do have a lot invested right now, especially after this offseason. The Bears went out and made a ton of moves, bringing in Keenan Allen, DeAndre Swift, Roma Dunze, Gerald Everett. The offense is stacked. How are you feeling about the Bears this year against a pretty tough NFC North?
I love it because not only is their offense stacked, so is their defense. And they're all virtually young, mostly young players. Like 95% of everybody is in their mid-20s at the most. And but you also have the right mix of guys like Keenan Allen, who's been a Pro Bowl receiver for, it seems, forever. And he keeps getting better with age. And I think the example he can set and has for younger players is fantastic. And like I said, I think defensively, I know I don't want to get so ahead of the game. I want to let you go ahead and answer questions, but I think defensively, this team is going to be special from right out of the gate.
I couldn't agree more. And a big reason why for that, Erik, is obviously we have the #1 overall pick in Caleb Williams, who we've talked about before. A lot, when you came on last year, we talked about Tyson Bagent maybe being the guy if they didn't go with Caleb Williams. But obviously, #1 overall pick went to Williams. He's looked fantastic during the preseason and during camp. Erik, what are some of the things that you've seen quarterback to quarterback that makes Caleb Williams so special?
So I think that one of the first things that jumps out is just from a natural, like just physically a talent standpoint. He's fast, but he plays like Gumby's playing quarterback. So he's athletic, he's fluid, he's got tremendous. He can put the ball pretty much wherever he wants to from whatever position he's throwing from. And I think that's kind of what gives everybody this, oh my God, what a great talent. But then looking back what he did in college, it looked like he made the game a little more difficult than it needed to be. And just like literally hit the open guy when he's right in front of you. And I think now that's what has the Bears and Chicago and people like me excited, because those are the things he's displayed consistently through the preseason. And if he's doing it in the preseason games, it's not like he's not doing it in practice.
So Erik, you kind of hit on that he made more difficult decisions in college. Can you kind of break down some of the things that you saw because you never went to see him at USC, did you, by chance?
No,
you didn't get a chance. But what did you see on film that from college to now that he's already improved on, from at least making the game easier for himself?
Well, so without knowing what their plays are called in college, or even with the Bears right now, but let's say you've got a situation where you've got a quick drop and you've got a guy, a offset back running to the flat, and a tight end that's running what's called a stick route, about a 6-yard, where he plants and turns to run outside. Well, if one of those guys is open, that's your first read. And one of those guys would be open, and then he would not throw it to that guy. He'd pull it down and look to somebody else on the backside who wasn't open. Well, now he's got to run around and try to make something happen when he could have taken the first guy and had 2nd down and 3. And what I always try to look for is the guys that will take the simple throws, even if it turns into a check down, and realize that check downs equal first downs and first downs equal touchdowns. And over the course of a game, that's how you score points consistently. And I think that's what I'm seeing him do now is just that. Not having to drop back, pass up a guy or two that's already open, and then run around and display how great of an athlete you are in order to throw something which potentially is going to get intercepted or an incomplete pass down the field. And I think that making the game very simple is it's got to be for him. I never had an embarrassment of riches athletically. So for him, it's got to be like, you mean I can just take people and take first downs? Yeah, you can. And I think when I see the package of Caleb Williams, that's what I mean, making the game simple, and then having his athleticism and playmaking ability to fall back on that most people don't. That's the entire package of, I think, what the Bears, people like Ryan Poles and his staff and the coaching staff and the city of Chicago now sees is literally just popping out of this can right now.
So I like the breakdown you said, because he has all the athletic gifts in the world, but we've had a quarterback before recently that did have all that. That was Justin Fields. And I know we've talked about him before on the show.
Yeah.
But what do you see differently between the two? Just not even from, it can be from an athletic standpoint, but from an overall perspective, what makes Williams different than Justin Fields?
Several things, but to make it in the teams that we're just talking about. So in a zone defense, there's typically always going to be, once you've decided what the coverage is, there's always going to be one player on defensively that you're going to put in conflict. You're going to use a couple of routes that one defender is responsible for. And the one thing that I didn't see in Justin Fields ever, but that I do see in Caleb, is there's 2 things you can do with that person, that player. You can freeze him with your body language and your eyes and then throw opposite of him. Or you can, if he's kind of committed to going in one direction, you can help him continue going there, again, with your eyes and body language, and throw opposite him. That is a basic something that all good quarterbacks eventually are capable of doing consistently. And I think that's the thing that excites me when I watch Caleb, is he's got that.
So I have to ask, because I asked this about Fields, and I know you didn't have any conversation with him, but have you had any communication at all with Caleb Williams since he's been drafted?
No, I haven't. I would like to. And I hear he's a great guy, and I'm so excited for him and for this, the team and the players around him and the city itself that have been really waiting, not just for a quarterback, but for a whole team to really come together and be relevant, not just relevant, but dominant. And I think that's what this team has, at least shown the capability of becoming. Because they've got, I think, Matt Eberflus, I've never met him either, but I think he's got just a great command of leading this team that makes people believe. And what tells me that is last year, when everybody could have been jumping ship, they didn't. And they believed in what he was doing, despite whatever it was. The media reports were about him potentially getting fired and blah, blah, blah. He stuck true to himself, didn't change a bit. Ryan Poles, same way. Players, same way. And when you have, people in positions of leadership, like the Bears apparently have, unique individuals in both Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus, and then you've got all these talented folks around them that they make feel comfortable and inspired by. Well, that's special teams come out of that concoction.
So I love that you brought up Matt Eberflus too, because he's had a huge impact on Caleb Williams. We've seen it in Hard Knocks, we've seen it at practice. I had an opportunity to go to a few practices this preseason, and you can just see how he works and talks with Caleb. And we saw on Hard Knocks. Have you seen Hard Knocks yet, by the way, Eric?
I haven't. I want to get the Max, HBO Max, right? That it's on. That I got to sign up to get that. So.
Okay, I think I can share my login with you, Eric, just so you can. I feel like you need to see this, especially from a player's perspective. But we've obviously seen. Maybe you've seen the clips how Nick Saban was Matt Eberflus's head coach in college. They brought back at Toledo. One of Nick Saban's first jobs as a coach in college, he worked with Matt Eberflus, and they stayed very close in touch. And you can see that he took the advice from Saban, and that's how he's treating Caleb Williams. And I don't want to blow it too much for you in Hard Knocks, because I want to hear what you're thinking of Caleb Williams overall, not just because he went through the Hollywood life. He was the biggest name in college football recruiting in the last 2 decades. Do you think that he's handling this spotlight well? Is there things you would change in him, or just give me your thoughts on it?
Well, I think players coming out today, he being one, that have been, successful in college football these last couple of years since NIL's come around. He probably made more money at USC than he probably took a pay cut coming to the Bears. And I think that says something, meaning he's learned how to balance what you mentioned there in Hollywood while in college, growing up still. And here he's, kind of not only the face of the Bears franchise, he was the face of USC's franchise. And to have already kind of become comfortable with that role before you arrive in Chicago, who we all know has a heaping amount of expectations now are being placed on Caleb Williams, I think he's developed a sense of calm leading up to coming to Chicago, which I think, again, is unique to players coming out of college these last couple of years.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, there was a lot of drama about him. Everyone didn't like the fingernails. No one liked that he, ran into the stands and was crying when, he lost that big game.
Yeah.
He showed emotion. It's okay. It's okay to show emotion. I
If
think.
you show it, they hate it. If you don't show it, you're stoic. If you whatever, I think he's really learned now. If I want to paint my fingernails purple, I'll do it. If I want to cry in the stands, fine. What matters is what happens in my preparation as a complete person before game day, then how I perform on game day, how I lead people around me, how I set examples for others. I think he's basically hit home run after home run after home run. And what are you going to say? He paints his fingernails? Come on.
It's 2024. Everyone's doing it. You didn't know that, Erik?
I haven't jumped on there myself, but hey, if it made me win games, I'd do it.
I like that attitude. Well, and he said he is painting them, so we don't know what it's going to be. But I'm happy for him because as long as
I don't think any teammate cares, honestly.
Except Justin Simmons or Jeffrey Simmons on the Titans apparently cares, but
Jeffrey
we'll find
Simmons
out.
Isn't a teammate.
That's true. That's true. So Erik, kind of going into, the final stretch here of the conversation, I want to hear what you're thinking from Caleb Williams' perspective, because I kind of opened the show with it. You are the single season passing record for the Chicago Bears, a little over 3,900 yards, closest to get to 4,000. Can you kind of run us through Caleb's stat line prediction from you? Do you think he'll break your record? Because also there's an asterisk on it. You did it in 16 games. He has 17 games. So kind of want to hear your thoughts and predictions on it.
I hope here's what I hope. Aside from any records or anything, I hope Caleb develops kind of a comfort level with being a good decision maker, which he's shown he is, deliver the ball accurately, be able to manipulate defenders, do things consistently well, get first downs, and records will come. I know for me, I wasn't thinking about any records. I just wanted to make one good decision after another, and another. And I think if Caleb Williams follows that path, given that he's got his own ability, which is phenomenal, he's got a young, improving offense that gets better. It seems like every other week they're adding some new piece. And I can't wait to see him do everything. I hope he throws for 5,000 yards. I hope he throws for 65 touchdowns. There's nothing I hope he doesn't do well. And I think over time, he's going to do just that. And I think, let me say this too, Nick, for this season, here's my hope for Caleb and the Bears, but him in particular, is I started out talking about how I think this defense is going to be special from day one. And if I'm Caleb Williams, I don't have to do anything I haven't been doing already in practice. And I'm hoping he's reaching a comfort level of just, like I said, make good decisions and don't put the pressure on yourself, which is what I think he did in Collins a bit, making yourself feel like you've got to win the game. If you don't score 45 points, you're going to lose. I think that's the feeling he may have had at USC. That's not the reality here with the Bears. If you don't turn the ball over, and if your offense scores 17 points, you have a damn good chance of winning whatever game you're playing in. And if he can do that for the first, say, half of the season, then there's a comfort level that he's going to gain, a confidence level that's going to, basically make that second half of the season where he doesn't feel so new anymore.
I love it, because a lot of people are like, we need him to break 4,000 yards. We need him to do it correctly. We need him to break the curse. I don't know if you know this, Erik, but since 2002, I want to pull this stat up for you real quick, because I think it's absolutely mind-blowing. Caleb's got a lot of things that he needs to break, a lot of curses, and one of them obviously being your passing record, which is not a curse, but the curse of 4,000 yards.
Right.
Since the Chicago Bear, or since 2002, quarterbacks drafted number one overall are 0-14-1 in their first start since 2002. So Caleb's got a lot of weight on his shoulders, but you seem excited about week one. Are you thinking that Caleb breaks that curse and becomes the first quarterback to win his first start?
Absolutely. And you mentioned these different 4,000 yards and how many touchdowns. Here's the one stat that I care about that I'd like him to break is that year I only threw 10 interceptions. And I don't think I was sacked more than about 12 or 15 times either. And so that's the one stat that matters to me is limit your mistakes, learn from them if you make one, and then don't repeat them. And like I said, just make good decisions, be accurate with the ball. You can't account for tip passes and, every now and then you're going to make a poor decision. But here's truly the season of any, I don't care if it's your first year, your 15th year, seasons go like this, up and down, up and down. And if you can try to minimize the down part, even while you're in one, that's the sign of a guy who has his wits about him. Because when the storm's coming, and when you're in one, try to limit how bad it gets. Because know that if you just survive this game, in whatever way that means, continue to make good decisions and prepare your body and your mind each week, and you'll ride it out.
Erik, I think that's great advice. And I'm going to tag Caleb on Twitter. So hopefully he sees this video and maybe you two can actually finally get together. Maybe the Bears PR can, fly you out to Chicago, make something happen for that one.
Thanks for taking it upon yourself, Nick, for the betterment of all mankind.
It's what I do. It's what I do. But Erik, one last question before I lose you. I know we're almost at time here. It's the Bears have a ton of expectations. They have the third easiest schedule. They have a tough division right now. You have the Lions, you have the Packers, and the Vikings who could do anything. What is your record prediction for the Chicago Bears in the 17-game season this year?
So, I don't see why they can't go 10-7. That's a very modest prediction. That's given the fact that, and that doesn't account for, I have a feeling they're going to get on a 4, 5, 6 game run, which means your confidence, you feel like you can beat anybody doing that. A very modest prediction is 10-7, in which I think they make the playoffs.
The playoff Bears could be back, and I would be very happy about what I want to see is I think it would be perfect for you would be a Bears-Lions playoff game. A very dear friend of mine in the Chicago area asked me the other day, he goes, okay, let me paint this scenario. It's late in the season, and it's a big game for both the Bears and the Lions. Who are you rooting for? And I said, Bruce, ever since I can remember, I always say, the 2 games every single year that I don't have a favorite is when the Bears play the Lions. But if I'm really thinking, realistically, then, and it could come down to a big game for both of them, it would, I don't know, because the Lions were really where I got my big start. And yet the Bears, I have a lot of good history there too. Being that I love to root for the underdog, and the Lions have been one for so long, but now the Bears I would consider an even bigger one, I think I'd have to pull for the Bears. That's the answer we were looking for. I think that's what everyone that stayed tuned for this part of the show was like, please say the Bears. Please say the Bears. But Erik, ton of fun. It's always great to have you on. You have a ton of good things going on right now, and I'll make sure that I put all your pages in the description for everyone. But thank you for joining us week 1, and I'm sure we'll have you on Bears-Lions, which I believe the first meeting is Thanksgiving, so we'll have you on back in November.
Love it. And I think I'm having Thanksgiving here at my house with folks, and so we'll be having that game on in every room, I'm sure.
I think we have to get you a custom 12 jersey made, half of it being the Lions, half of it being the Bears.
I love it. That is a damn good idea on your part.
Okay, I'll work on that. I got 2 things to work on after the show.
I think, right, Amon-Ra St. Brown's parents, one son was playing right for the Lions, the other one at one point for the Packers, obviously for the Bears. And that would be pretty cool.
I'll get on it right away. I know a guy or two over there. And I know you got some friends over here in Chicago that know people or two as well. So I'll make sure I call them.
I love it. All right. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you, Eric.
Always fun coming on with you.
Absolutely. And thank you for taking the time to come on. We'll have you again on in November for Bears Lions.
Love it. All right, buddy. Take care.
Thanks, Eric. Bye-bye.